तो ये क्लास 8 की आईसीएसई बुक है, ठीक है, पास्ट एंड प्रेजेंट ऑफ रत्ना सागर। तो हम पहले चैप्टर 1 से हम पूरे चैप्टर रीड कर लेते हैं। इसमें हिस्ट्री द स्टडी ऑफ चेंजिंग पैटर्न्स इन सोसाइटी टू कैरेक्टराइज द चेंजेस। हिस्टोरियंस आर डिवाइडेड हिस्ट्री इनटू 3 पीरियड, एंशिएंट, मेडिवल एंड मॉडर्न। दीस ब्रॉड डिवीजन मार्क आउट सोसाइटी, इकोनॉमी, कल्चर एंड पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ वन पीरियड डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द प्रीसीडिंग एंड द सक्सीडिंग पीरियड। फीचर्स ऑफ द मॉडर्न एज: इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, अर्बनाइजेशन and is urbanization is development of urban centers, namely cities, scientific progress, growth of democratic industrialization, urbanization, scientific progress, growth of democratic institutions, rationalism, examining everything in the light of vision, humanism, the human being and not God is the center of the world. It may be remembered that the change from the medieval to modern did not happen overnight. It was a gradual process and took place over a period of time and took place over a period of time. Also, the modern period did not begin at the same time in all parts of the world. The 18th century generally taken as the starting point of the modern period in India. This was the time when the British became the masters of India. They brought about many changes in different fields of life. These changes were so radical that they are said to have constituted a new period. On the other hand, the modern period in Europe began from the 16th century. यूरोप में 16th सेंचुरी में, इंडिया में 18th सेंचुरी में. देयर इज एन एविडेंस ऑफ सोर्स मटेरियल फॉर द मॉडर्न पीरियड इन इंडिया. दिस कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू 2 ग्रुप: प्राइमरी सोर्सेज एंड सेकेंडरी सोर्सेज. Primary sources include original documents such as the letter, government reports, news, newspapers, speeches, audio recording, video recording, photographs, sculptures, paintings, archaeological remains, monuments and artifacts. Many of these primary sources have been preserved in archives and museums. Secondary sources: historians study primary sources and interpret them. These interpretations constitute secondary sources. These are available to us reports, reviews, articles, books by historians. Modern Europe. The modern period is characterized by the greater interaction among the countries of the world. India was influenced by the development in other parts of the world. Therefore, before we study the history of modern India, it is important to know about the significant events and the changes that took place in other parts of the world during these times. Renaissance. The word Renaissance literally means the rebirth. It is a cultural movement. ये rebirth होता है cultural movement that spanned roughly the 14th century and the 17th century. The movement began in Italy and spread to the rest of the Europe. It aimed to revive classical glory, learning, culture of ancient Greece and the Rome. Art हो गया, architecture, literature, philosophy, science of this period was influenced by the Renaissance. Renaissance thinkers were rationalists. They asked people to don't blindly accept whatever the church told them. They questioned belief founded on blind faith and superstition. People were asked to judge and accept things in the light. तो ये एक Michelangelo Buonarroti, Renaissance people. Nicholas Copernicus, William Shakespeare, Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton and Niccolo Machiavelli. ठीक है, ये सारे जो हैं रेनेसां पीपल हैं. आइजैक न्यूटन हो गया, लियोनार्डो दा विंची, विलियम शेक्सपियर, निकोलस कोपरनिकस एंड माइकलएंजेलो बुओनार्टी. उसके बाद फिर नेक्स्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं ऑफ रीजन. पीपल बिगिन टू ऑब्जर्व द एक्सपेरिमेंट एंड यूज देयर रीजनिंग टू अराइव एट कंक्लूजन. ह्यूमंस बिकेम द सेंटर ऑफ स्टडी ड्यूरिंग द रेनेसां. सेकुलर थीम्स एंड डिपिक्शन ऑफ द ह्यूमन फॉर्म बिकॉज द फोकस ऑफ पेंटिंग बिकेम द फोकस ऑन पेंटिंग एंड स्कल्पचर. द ट्रू स्पिरिट ऑफ रेनेसां वर रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय द sculptors, writers, painters and scientists of the period. Michelangelo Buonarroti, William Shakespeare, Leonardo da Vinci, Nicholas Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton, to name a few. Reformation. The Reformation was an important moment in the history of the Europe. The new spirit of inquiry opposed the practice of Roman Catholic Church. The 16th century movement questioned the special position enjoyed by the Roman 16th century movement. They questioned the special position enjoyed by the Roman Catholic Church in the Christian world. Some people spoke out against the church for they believed that it had become too rich and powerful and corrupt. Some people spoke out against the church for they believed that it had become too rich, too powerful and corrupt. These people were called as Protestant. The Reformation attacked the practice of blind faith. Some people they spoke out against the church for they believed that it had become बहुत ज़्यादा rich and powerful and corrupt. These people were called Protestant. The Reformation attacked the practice of blind faith. The Reformers asked people not to blindly accept whatever the church told them. They asked people to read the Bible and follow this teaching. The Reformers regarded the Bible and not the Pope as the supreme authority. The protest against the corrupt practices of the church official was led by the Martin Luther. He was a monk in Germany. In Switzerland, Ulrich Zwingli and Switzerland में का नाम देखो, मार्टिन लूथर जर्मनी कहते हैं, मार्टिन लूथर. स्विट्जरलैंड के दो थे, उल्रिच ज्विंगली एंड जॉन कैल्विन. दे पॉपुलराइज्ड द प्रोटेस्टेंट मूवमेंट इन इंग्लैंड. द मूवमेंट वाज लेड बाय हेनरी VIII. In response to the Protestant Reformation, a movement began within the Roman Catholic Church to restore the reputation and credibility of the Church. This is known as Catholic Reformation. However, the division between the Protestant and Catholic and the religious dispute continued well into the 17th century as well. So, tired of such disputes, some people left Europe and sought religious freedom in the new world of Americas. Voyages of discovery. During the early 15th century, मतलब 1400 में, the most important trade route between the Europe and Asia was an overland route that passed through the Western Asia. So, trade with Asia was very profitable and extremely important for the European. Among other things, they needed Asian spices to preserve meat. Textiles from Asia were also popular item for trade. After Constantinople, that is now just Istanbul, Turkey में, Constantinople जिसे अभी उसे इस्तांबुल कहते हैं, that was conquered by Ottoman Turks and the overland route was no longer available for the trade. The Turks blocked the trade route to Asia and new route to Asia thus had to be discovered, and this led to the race among the European countries to find new routes. Many Europeans would finance expedition to discover the new trade route. To the tremendous growth in geographical knowledge and invention of the new scientific instrument gave up Philip to exploration and improved मैप्स हो गए, इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स जैसे क्वाड्रेंट एंड एस्ट्रोलेब, ठीक है। एस्ट्रोलेब बताते हुए क्या था, मेरिनर कंपास एंड द एडजस्टेबल। एस्ट्रोलेब पेपर देख लेते हैं क्या होता है, एक सेकेंड, जस्ट अ सेकेंड। ओके, एस्ट्रोलेब, ओके, इंस्ट्रूमेंट that is used to check one's location or position in sea, उसे एस्ट्रोलेब कहते हैं। द माइनस कैंपस एंड एडजस्टेबल सेल मेड सेलिंग एट सी सेफर। मेन क्वाड्रेंट हो गया, एस्ट्रोलेब हो गया, मेरिना कैंपस हो गया, एडजस्टेबल सेल्स एंड मेड सेलिंग सी सेफर। इन्वेंशन ऑफ द गन एंड द गन पाउडर हैव सेफगार्ड शिप फ्रॉम अटैक बाय द सी बाय दस न्यू सी रूट एंड न्यू लैंड फॉर डिस्कवर्ड बाय द सेलर्स एंड द एक्सप्लोरर। 1488 में Bartholomew Diaz reached the southernmost tip of Africa, just and named it the Cape of Good Hope. Vasco da Gama followed the same route and reached India in 1498. Christopher Columbus also set out to discover the sea route to Asia, but discovered Americas instead. Later, Amerigo Vespucci also reached Americas. Ferdinand Magellan, particular sailor, was the first to sail around the world. Named the particular sailor who was the first to sail around the world. That was Ferdinand Magellan. Industrial Revolution. An ever-increasing volume of the trade meant that the more goods had to be produced in a shorter time to meet the demands of the market. The domestic system of production, under which the artisans collected raw material from the merchants, made good at home using his or bare hands, or at best some simple tools, and then supply the finished good to the merchant, could not meet the growing demands of the market. A strong need was therefore felt for a new system of production, that is a factory system of production. पहले डोमेस्टिक सिस्टम ऑफ प्रोडक्शन था, अब हो गया फैक्ट्री सिस्टम ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। तो दिस मर्चेंट सेट अप फैक्ट्रीज, इंस्टॉल्ड न्यूली इन्वेंटेड मशीन्स, ब्रॉट रॉ मटेरियल फ्रॉम द मार्केट एंड एम्प्लॉयड वर्कर्स ऑन विचेस टू प्रोड्यूस गुड्स एंड मशीन। द डेवलपमेंट इज नोन एज द इंडस्ट्रियल रिवोल्यूशन। इट इज कॉल्ड रिवोल्यूशन बिकॉज इट मार्क्ड अ वेरी रेडिकल चेंज फ्रॉम द डोमेस्टिक सिस्टम ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। मैकनाइजेशन ऑफ लेबर वर द चीफ फीचर ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री। मैकनाइजेशन ऑफ लेबर, सब एक्सप्लोरर जैसे वास्को द गामा, क्रिस्टोफर कोलंबस, अमेरिको वेस्पूसी। नेक्स्ट है James Watt का steam engine on display at a technical institute. The steam engine allowed the railroads to develop. The industrial revolution began in England in the middle of the 18th century. 18th century के middle में मतलब 1700 कुछ में. England at this time was an advantageous position as to start and sustain industrial revolution. England had an abundant supply of natural resources, especially England में natural resource पर जाता है, coal बहुत है, needed for industrialization. It had a stable government which encouraged the trade and commerce. So the British traders and the merchants were given the liberty to trade as they liked. With the abolition of the serfdom in the 18th century, a large number of people became free. Serfdom क्या होता है? ठीक है, this is a condition of bondage where peasants were forced to work and live on land that belonged to the landowner whom they had to obey. तो serfdom खत्म हो गया. Abolition of serfdom in the 18th century, a large number of people became free. They moved to the cities looking for work. The cheap labor was available. The British government, with its strong navy, embarked on a policy of geographical expansion. This led to the rapid colonization, which enabled England to get cheap raw material from the countries it colonized. These colonies also served as a market where the British could dump their finished product for sale. Atmosphere of scientific inquiry and improved transport system in the form of canals, roads, helped England become the first industrialized nation. England became the first industrialized nation. The textile industry was the first to be mechanized. सबसे पहले कौन सी इंडस्ट्री मैकनाइज हुई? टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री was the first to be mechanized. सबसे पहले जेम्स हारग्रीव स्पिनिंग जेनी, रिचर्ड ऑकराइट वाटर फ्रेम। जेम्स हारग्रीव स्पिनिंग जेनी, रिचर्ड ऑकराइट वाटर फ्रेम, सैमुअल क्रॉम्पटन स्पिनिंग म्यूल। तो स्पिनिंग जेनी जेम्स हारग्रीव, स्पिनिंग म्यूल सैमुअल क्रॉम्पटन, एडमंड Cartwright's power loom, Edmund Cartwright power loom, John K. flying shuttle, and many other inventions increased the production of the cloth. Lancashire and Yorkshire emerged the two main centers of textile. Lancashire and Yorkshire. The improved steam engine by James Watt replaced the water and the horsepower in many industries. Water power and horsepower. So George Stephenson, steam powered locomotive. Steam engine James Watt. Steam powered locomotive George Stephenson, helping the transport of raw material from one place to another. Inventions such as the seed drill, a mechanical seeder that allows seeds to be planted easily deep into the earth, and horseshoe, a horse draw machine which loosens the soil and kill weed. Improve agriculture productivity. Better coal mining techniques developed in the course of time. All major industries were affected by the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution gradually spread across Europe into the US, Japan, and many other countries of the world. Impact the Industrial led to the sweeping change in Europe and elsewhere. First example, rise of capitalism. Industrial led to the decline of the feudalism in Europe. A new system arose in its place. It was a system in which the means of production were privately owned and operated for profit. It was called capitalism. Means of production privately owned, operated for profit. New social classes. Capitalism. Now this is James Watt. James Watt ने क्या डेवलप किया था? स्टीम इंजन. जॉर्ज स्टीफेंसन ने क्या था? स्टीम पावर्ड लोकोमोटिव. एक है स्पिनिंग जेनी, एक है स्पिनिंग म्यूल. स्पिनिंग जेनी था जेम्स हार्ग्रीव, स्पिनिंग म्यूल सैमुअल क्रॉम्पटन, पावर लूम एडमंड कार्टराइट, Okay, Lancashire and Yorkshire. Water frame James Richard Arkwright. Okay, new social classes. Capitalism gave birth to two new social classes. One was that was the factory owners who employed the workers and paid them wages. The main aim of the factory owners was to make profit. They controlled the capital, so the money and hence were called capitalists. They were very prosperous and had a very luxurious life of luxury. The other class were the workers who worked in factories and received wages for their labor. They were an exploited lot and lived in a great hardship. Emergence of towns and cities. The new machines were too big to fit into people's homes, so factories were built where capitalists installed the machine. People working at home could not compete with the factory-made goods, so they had to go and work in the factory. Thus, with industrialization, the center of economic life shifted from villages to cities. Many industrial towns and cities, such as Manchester and Liverpool, immersed people migrated from village to these cities in search of jobs in factories. Growth of imperialism. With the growth of the factories, growth of imperialism, the growth of factories, the industrialized countries of the Europe were faced with two crucial concerns. One was the need for the cheap raw material to manufacture goods, and there was to find the market for the finished good. The political domination of the less developed countries could solve these problems. The establishment of colonies in Asia, Africa, and America by the European countries helped to sustain the industrial revolution. Our common food was oatcake. It was thick and coarse. The oatcake was put into cans. Boiled milk and water was poured into it. This was our breakfast and supper. Our dinner was potato pie with boiled bacon in it, a bit here, a bit there, so thick with fat we could scarce eat it. Though we were hungry enough to eat everything, tea we never saw, nor butter. We had cheese and brown bread once a year. We were only allowed 3 meals a day, though we got up at 5 in the morning and worked till 9 at night. And except from a child laborer's interview on the kind of food provided in the factories, imperialism is the policy of extending the political and economic control over a weak country. Political control and economic control of a country by a powerful one. This phenomena gained strength in the 19th century. 1800s, largely due to the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution led to a tremendous increase in the production of goods. The European countries need market for the manufactured good, new source of cheap raw material to manufacture more good, and areas in which they could invest their surplus capital. This led them to capital बहुत आ रहा है, invest भी तो कहीं करना पड़ेगा. This led them to acquire colonies in Asia and Africa, continent rich in natural resources, but militarily they were very big. The race to acquire the colonies peaked during the latter half of the 19th century. By the beginning of the 20th century, Manchester developed into an international center of textile industry. Which was an international sector of textile industry? Manchester. It was therefore called the cotton police of the world. Which name the city which was called as the cotton police of the world? Manchester. International center of textile industry. Which was an international center of textile industry? Manchester. It was therefore called cotton police of the world. Next point है whole of मतलब by the end of the 20th century, the whole by the end of 20th century. By the beginning of the 20th century, almost all of the non-industrialized world had come under the control of a few industrialized countries. Britain, हो गया, France, Belgium, Spain were the main colonial powers. The new machines worked so far that people who made clothes at home became jobless. This made some people so angry that they tried to destroy the machine. They were called the machine smashers. A group called Luddites were notorious for destroying machine. Luddite. अब इम्पैक्ट क्या था? जो colonialist थे, they exploited the colonies economically. उनका पैसा सब लूट लेके लेके आया था. Local industries of the colonized countries were practically destroyed. जो लोकल इंडस्ट्रीज थी वो डिस्ट्रॉय होगी. फॉर एग्जांपल द इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ द चीप मशीन मेड गुड डिस्ट्रॉय द indigenous textile industry of India. The colonies were treated as mere suppliers of the raw materials. No efforts was made to industrialize these colonies. Burma, Myanmar, the British exploited her natural resources and granted themselves the exclusive right to sell the manufactured product that Burma needed. Agriculture too was modified to suit the requirements of the imperialist countries. पूरा modify कर दिया agriculture भी. In some colonies only 1 or 2 crops were grown. For example, Cuba was reduced to only a sugar producing country. India too, only a cash crops were which fetched a high price in these markets were encouraged. India suffered the evils of the British imperialism for many centuries. You will read about the circle of the Indians again later in this book. Impact of industrial revolution in India. India turned into an importer of factory made finished good and exporter of raw material. As factory made goods were cheap and the handmade good, Indian artisan could not face the competition. As a result, the traditional textile industry was ruined. With the decline of the textile industry, there was a large scale de-urbanization. अर्बनाइजेशन नहीं हो रहा था, डी-अर्बनाइजेशन. लोग भाग रहे थे. दिस मेन सेंटर्स द मेन सेंटर ऑफ टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री सच एज मुर्शिदाबाद. टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री कौन सा? मुर्शिदाबाद था. ढाका जो ढाका है, सूरत है, लखनऊ है, मसूलीपट्टनम among others became deserted. आज इस प्लेस जहाँ पे हिस्टोरिकल डॉक्यूमेंट रखे जाते थे. रनिंग द पीरियड इन यूरोपियन हिस्ट्री ड्यूरिंग द 14th century and 17th century when there was a revival of interest in the study of the ancient European civilization, the development of spirit of scientific inquiry and a regard for the welfare of the human being. A person rationalist is a person who believes that all behaviors and opinion should be based on reason and not on emotions or religious belief. According to the instrument that is used to check when location or position in sea, compass, it is an instrument with dial and magnetic needle that always points to the north, which is used for any direction. Wages, money paid daily or weekly in return for the work done by someone. The industrialization is a process of developing industries in an area or a country. Serfdom is a condition of bondage where peasants were forced to work and live on land that belonged to the landowner whom they had to obey. Colonization is an act or a process of establishing a colony. A colony is a country or an area that is governed by the people from another more powerful country. Capitalism is an economic system or a political system in which the property, business, industry, they are owned by private individuals and not by the state. Imperialism is a policy of extending the political and economic control over other regions, especially by acquiring colonies. Crops such as tobacco or cotton that are grown to be sold rather than for use by the farmer. Deurbanization is a situation where people have leave a town or city and move to other areas. ठीक है, deurbanization. चलो पहला चैप्टर कंप्लीट हो गया. नेक्स्ट चैप्टर पे जंप करते हैं. So next chapter is the age of revolution. The 18th century ushered in a new era. अब chapter 2 है the age of revolution. 18th century की बात करें मतलब 1700 में in a new era in the history of the world there were two significant events that strengthened the forces of democracy and nationalism throughout the world. एक था दो रिवोल्यूशन, एक अमेरिका में हुए थे, एक फ्रांस में हुआ था. डिस्कवरी ऑफ अमेरिका लेड बाय इंग्लैंड, फ्रांस एंड स्पेन. इंग्लैंड हो गया, फ्रांस आया, स्पेन आया, हॉलैंड टू एस्टैब्लिश देयर कॉलोनीज देयर. थस फ्रॉम द 16th century onward people from different European countries began to settle in America. The American War of Independence was the first ever organized movement in history in which the people asserted the right to rule themselves. It led to some major change, the most important being the birth of the USA. A replica of the Godspeed, one of the three ships that brought English colonies to North America. By the middle of the 18th century के मिडल मतलब 1750s में there were 13 British colonies along the east coast of North America. North America के east coast में 13 British colonies थी. People who had settled in these colonies had originally come from England. They had gone there seeking money, freedom and better life. These colonies which were under, वहाँ पे क्या चाहते थे? मनी हो, freedom हो and better life. So the colonies which were under the control of the British government enjoyed a considerable amount of freedom in matters of internal administration. So every colony, हर colony में एक governor था और local council थे. Local council were elected by the people who registered in the colony, decided in the colony. So local council laws pass करते थे, tax लगाते थे. Causes the colony, despite enjoying independence in internal administration, were controlled by the British government in economic matter. तो administrative matter में तो control था, political matter में था, लेकिन economic matters में British government directly control करती थी. For example, the colonies were forbidden to use non-British ship कि आपको भाई सिर्फ आपको ब्रिटिश शिप ही यूज़ करनी है फॉर ट्रेडिंग पर्पस. प्रोडक्ट जैसे कि टोबैको हो गया, शुगर एंड कॉटन कुड बी एक्सपोर्टेड ओनली टू इंग्लैंड एंड दैट टू एट प्राइसेस फिक्स्ड बाय द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट. सिमिलरली द कॉलोनीज कुड इंपोर्ट गुड्स ओनली फ्रॉम इंग्लैंड. तो एक्सपोर्ट भी इंग्लैंड को करना है और वहाँ से लाना भी है. तो गुड्स इंपोर्टेड फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज फॉर टैक्स वेरी हैवीली. मोरेओवर इट वाज इलीगल फॉर द कॉलोनी टू सेट अप इंडस्ट्री दैट कुड कम्पीट विद द ब्रिटिश वन. अगर खुदा न खासा वो ऐसी इंडस्ट्री रख लेते हैं जो ब्रिटिश से कम्पीट करते हैं तो काम खत्म. द कॉलोनीज रिसेंटली सच कॉलोनियल ट्रेड पॉलिसी. द कॉलोनीज हैड नो रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन द ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट. Colonies had no representation in the British Parliament. British Parliament को कोई representation नहीं था. Colonies strongly criticized the British government constant demand for money. Every time the government needed money to fund its war in Europe and elsewhere, it imposed new taxes on the colonies. In 1765 में British Parliament ने एक stamp act पास किया था which made affixation of stamps on all documents compulsory. हर सारे document पे stamp लगाओ. तो stamp act किया. The colonies refused to pay the tax on the ground that as the British Parliament did not have any representative from the, भाई आपके पार्लियामेंट में हमारा कोई representative नहीं है, आप हम पे टैक्स लगाने पड़ रहा है. तो it did not have the right to levy tax either. अगर आप हमको रिप्रेजेंट नहीं कर रहे हो तो टैक्स लगा रहे हो. Therefore the colonies protested against the act and adopted the slogan no taxation without representation. Under the pressure from the protest, the British government repealed the stamp act. The British government believed that since the colonies existed for the good of the mother country, it had the right to tax them. Colonies existed for the good of the mother country. Thus, the government imposed tax on tea to assert its right to levy tax. The government decision to tax tea was severely criticized by the colonies. Further, 17th century में several colonies refused to unload the tea that came from England. इंग्लैंड से टी आ रहा था, उसको अनलोड ही नहीं की, मतलब अनलोड हमें नहीं चाहिए. सो इन बॉस्टन अ ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल डिस्गाइज एज नेटिव इंडियंस. बॉस्टन में ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल थे, दे वर डिस्गाइज एज नेटिव इंडियन. दे रेडेड ब्रिटिश शिप and dumped the crates of tea into the sea. This incident is known as Boston Tea Party. It hastened the American War of Independence. The colonies were inspired in their struggle by the writings of the philosophers. जैसे कि अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस को जो कॉलोनिस्ट थे उनको कौन इंस्पायर करता है? जॉन लॉकी, जॉन हैरिंगटन, जॉन मिल्टन, थॉमस पेन. John Locke, John Harrington, John Milton and Thomas Paine. They wrote that all men are equal and have some basic human right. All men have right to earn living in any way they like and raise their voice against any kind of injustice. Such views gave immense strength to the colonies. अब यहाँ पे ध्यान से देखो ये आपका अटलांटिक ओशियन है, ये गल्फ ऑफ मैक्सिको है. यहाँ पे ध्यान से देखो, ये सबसे पहले आपका ये न्यू हैम्पशायर, मैसेच्यूसेट, रोडे आइलैंड, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. ये सारे सब अमेरिका. The 13 colonies that revolted against Britain. अब बिगनिंग 1774 में क्या हुआ? इन 1774 द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव जो 13 कॉलोनी से नाम देखो जरा. न्यू हैम्पशायर है, मैसेच्यूसेट्स, न्यूयॉर्क, रोडलैंड, कनेक्टिक्यूट 5 हो गए, पेंसिल्वेनिया, न्यू जर्सी, डेलावेयर, मैरीलैंड, वर्जीनिया हो गया 10, नॉर्थ कैरोलिना, साउथ कैरोलिना, जॉर्जिया. ओके. 1774 द रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ द 13 कॉलोनीज असेंबल्ड इन द फिलाडेल्फिया. दे अपील, उन्होंने किंग जॉर्ज 3 जो ब्रिटिश रूलर थे उनसे अपील किया टू एंड द रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन ट्रेड. ओके. वुमेन्स ऑल्सो पार्टिसिपेट इन द अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस. सम सर्व्ड एज spies and some as nurses in the army raised by the George Washington. Among the women mentioned may be made of Mary Ludwig Hayes, who took her wounded husband's plate at the cannon and fought it bravely. An artist's impression of the Boston Tea Party. Okay. उन्होंने ब्रिटिश फिलाडेल्फिया 13 जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव थे 13 कॉलोनी से वो फिलाडेल्फिया में असेंबल हुए. उन्होंने किंग जॉर्ज जो ब्रिटिश रूलर थे उनको अपील किया एंड द रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन ट्रेड एंड नॉट restriction on trade to impose any and not to impose any further taxes without the consent of the colonies. भाई colonies की मदद वो पूछो तब करो जो करना है. The king regarded this as a mutiny and sentenced to suppress it. The colonies now prepared themselves for a fight. 4 जुलाई ये कब इकट्ठा हुए थे? 1774 में. अब हो गया 4 जुलाई 1776 में. The representative for the all colonies met once again in Philadelphia and adopted the Declaration of Independence. That was a document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. It stated that we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable ऐसी right जो आप उनसे नहीं ले सकते हो. And among these are life, right to life, liberty and pursuit of happiness. The declaration also asserted that the colonies had suffered long under the British rule and they had every right to end it and form their own government. This assertion marked the beginning of the War of Independence. Colonies were led by George Washington. Many battles were fought during the course of the War of Independence. The war ended in 1781. 4 जुलाई 1776 में डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस डॉक्यूमेंट ड्राफ्टेड बाय थॉमस जेफरसन. बर्थ ऑफ द यूनाइटेड स्टेट ऑफ अमेरिका 1783 में. 1781 में हुआ बर्थ ऑफ यूनाइटेड. In 1783 British government and the colonies signed the Treaty of Paris. The British recognized the independence of the 13 colonies. The colonies came together to form a United States of America. Constitution was drafted which declared the USA as republic. An important bill of this part of this constitution is the Bill of Rights. USA को republic किया and that is Bill of Rights. It guarantees American citizens the right to freedom of speech. American citizens the right to freedom of speech, religion and justice. Freedom of speech को पूछो. Freedom of speech, religion and justice. George, freedom of speech, religion and justice. French Revolution. The French Revolution of 1789 was one of the most important events in the history of the Europe. It was French Revolution of 1789 was one of the most important events in the history of the Europe. 1789. The war ended in 1781. Treaty of Paris 1783. The French Revolution was one of the most important events in the history of the Europe. It was a period of radical political and the political transformation and social transformation. Let us look at the causes that led people to raise the banner of revolt in France. Causes. There were many causes that led to the French Revolution. Political. France was ruled by Louis XVI. France was ruled by Louis XVI. He believed that he was the God's representative of earth and therefore was not answerable to the people. France was ruled by Louis XVI. He believed that he was the God's France was ruled by the Louis XVI. He believed that he was the God's representative on earth and therefore was not answerable to the people. Okay, 1783 में Treaty of Paris, Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, freedom of religion and freedom of justice. अब आता है फ्रेंच रिवोल्यूशन. फ्रेंच रिवोल्यूशन 1789 में, ये समझ में आ गया. 1783 में सब खत्म. अब इसके बाद फ्रेंच रिवोल्यूशन शुरू हुआ था. Treaty of Paris 1783 में साइन हुई थी. French Revolution of 1789 was one of the most important events in the history of the Europe. It was a period of a radical political and social transformation. Let us look at the political and social transformation. Let's look at the causes that led the people to raise the banner of the revolt in France. There were many causes that led to the French Revolution. France was ruled by Louis XVI. Okay, Louis XVI. He believed that he was the God's representative on earth. Therefore, was not answerable to the people. He and his wife Marie Antoinette ruled like autocrats and chose to ignore the suffering of the people. This made the king and the queen very unpopular among the people. This made the king and the queen France was ruled by Louis XVI. He believed that he was the court representative of and they was not answerable to the people. He and his wife Marie Antoinette ruled like autocrats and chose to ignore the suffering of the people. This made the king and the queen very unpopular to Louis XVI or Marie Antoinette. The administrative machinery under the Louis XVI had become extremely corrupt. The nobles and the officials tortured people for taxes and arrested and confined many people without a trial. Those who were arrested and confined were sent to the state prison at Bastille. Bastille thus became a symbol of state oppression. So the then French society was feudal in nature. It was divided into three classes or three estates. First estate considered the clergy, church, official. This is the sceptre of King Louis XVI and Queen Antoinette in Basilica of Saint Denis, France. The Palace of Versailles was the official residence of the French monarchy. It is now a World Heritage Site. Palace of Versailles. An artist's impression of the committee that drafted the Declaration of Independence, John Adams, Roger Thomas Jefferson, इन्होंने डॉक्यूमेंट बनाया था. रॉबर्ट लिविंगटन, बेंजामिन फ्रैंकलिन. The original declaration is now in the Rotunda for the Charter of Freedom of Washington DC. Okay, second state जो था nobility था. Third state which consisted of the peasant थे, workers थे, and the bourgeoisie में कौन कौन आता था? Merchant, trader, doctor, teacher, lawyer, so on. Constituted about 95% of the total population. The bourgeoisie or the middle class, despite paying taxes, had no social standing. They were unhappy with the way they were treated by the people of the first and the second estate, while the first and the second estate enjoyed all political right, social right. The third estate was deprived of all rights and all privileges. That there was widespread inequality. तो पॉलिटिकल कॉज समझ में आ गया, ठीक है. सोशल कॉज. अब इकोनॉमी. द लेजिस्लेटिव लाइफ ऑफ द रूलर्स एंड द नोबिलिटी. रूलर्स थे, नोबिलिटी, क्लर्जी एंड द फ्रिक्वेंट वॉर्स. Artist impression of summoning the state general. Okay, France got involved in an okay, एक मिनट. This is page number 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. Wars that France got involved in had emptied the state treasury. People belonging to the first and the second estate, despite being very rich, were exempt from paying taxes. The entire burden of taxation fell on the third estate. Among the third estate, the worst hit were the peasants and the workers. They had to pay many taxes, such as tax on land, salt, daily items, and items for daily use, and so on. So very often they were forced to work without payment. For example, in case of constructing road. अब कुछ आते हैं इंटेलेक्चुअल फिलोसफर, जैसे कि वोल्टायर हो गए, रोसियो हो गए, एंड डिडरॉट. Voltaire, Rousseau, and Diderot inspired people to rise against all forms of inequality, injustice, and corruption. They preached that the real power rested with the people, and therefore a king should rule according to the will of the people. In the case the king failed to do so, people had the right to remove him. The Statue of Liberty, जो कि न्यूयॉर्क हार्बर में, was gifted by French to the Americans. फ्रेंच ने अमेरिकन को गिफ्ट किया था. ओके. इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ द अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस. फ्रांस ने सपोर्ट द कॉलोनिस्ट इन द अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ, इन्होंने कॉलोनिस्ट को सपोर्ट किया था. Okay, France ने सपोर्ट किया था. As a result, many French soldiers has participated in the war. When these soldiers returned to France, they brought with them the revolutionary ideas of democracy and nationalism. The outbreak. The summoning of the Estate General. The Estate General was a body of people representing the three estates. It had not been summoned since 1614. Faced with an acute economic crisis बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया, तो लुई 16 summoned the Estate General and finally in May 17, मतलब 1614 से बुलाया ही नहीं किया. उसके बाद फाइनली 1789 में बुलाया गया था. मेंबर्स ऑफ द थर्ड estate saw it as a golden opportunity to voice their grievances. However, the preference system allowed one vote to each estate and not one vote per representative. One vote to each estate vote. This meant that even when the members of the third estate outnumbered the members of the other two estates, they could not get their demands passed. So the third estate therefore demanded the introduction of one man, ek vote. One man, one vote. But this was turned down by the king. When no agreement could be reached, the members of the third estate formed the National Assembly on 17 June 1789. कब उन्होंने किया? 1789 में. और सब शुरू कब हुआ था फ्रांस का रबड़ा? ये 1789 में ही शुरू हुआ था ना. हाँ. नेशनल असेंबली कब बनी थी? 17 जून 1789 में. 20 जून को क्या हुआ? Members of the National Assembly met in a tennis court and vowed to stay united in their struggle to frame a constitution for the nation. This event is known as tennis court oath. This made the Louis XVI apprehensive and he resorted to terror tactics to suppress the National Assembly. It infuriated the people. Fighting broke out in Paris and in other parts of the France. The peasants also revolted against the landlord. The storming of Bastille. फिर क्या हुआ? ये सब जून में चला था. 17 जून हो गया, 20 जून, तो 14 जुलाई को 1789, the rebels attacked Bastille. They broke open its gate and released all its prisoners. The event, popularly known as the storming of the Bastille, symbolized the fall of autocracy. It marked the beginning of the French Revolution. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were arrested and later executed. The National Assembly को ended monarchy and established a republican government. Monarchy खत्म, republican government शुरू. It also adopted the famous document Declaration of the Right of the Man and of the Citizen. The basic right to life, the basic right of life, liberty, equality were promised to all the citizens. Basic right of life, liberty, and equality. Life, liberty, and equality were promised to all the citizens. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity became the guiding principle of the Republic of France. Impact of the revolution. In France, the revolution led to the destruction of feudalism and the growth of a new economic system of capitalism. France Republic बन गया. The citizens got basic human rights. They could not vote. The citizens got basic human rights. They could now vote and elect their representatives. Everywhere was a tumult, deafening, astounding noise of all these cries. The prisoners was the cry most taken up by the sea that rushed in. ये तो forum. Okay, Mary Gauze was the leading playwright. Mary Gauze, and one of the earliest feminists of the France. She wrote the Declaration of the Right of the Woman and the Female right of women and the female citizen, and for demanding voting right of women. She also championed the cause of women's right to inherit property. Mary Gauze, inherit property, voting right. Outside France, the French Revolution popularized the idea of nationalism. People began to identify themselves with a particular nation. Many countries of Europe people begin to identify. The French Revolution popularized the idea of nationalism. People begin to identify themselves with a particular nation. French Revolution popularized the idea of nationalism. People begin to identify themselves with a particular nation. Many countries of Europe which were divided into the Declaration of the Right of the Man and the Citizen serve as the preamble. Right of Man and the Citizen serve as the preamble to the French Constitution of 1791. Declaration Right of Man and the Citizen serve as a preamble. The French Revolution 1791. Okay, French Revolution popularized the idea of nationalism. People begin to identify themselves with a particular nation. Many countries of the Europe which were divided into a number of small regions tried to unite and form nation state. The idea of freedom, equality, and fraternity inspired people all over the world to fight for their right. The post-revolution period, the revolutionary performance continued even after the revolution. England हो गया, Holland, Spain, Prussia and other European countries feared the spread of revolutionary ideas. So 1790 से लेकर 1850 France was involved in a series of wars with these countries. This put a strain on the financial conditions of France. So it was against this that Napoleon Bonaparte rose to power. Napoleon Bonaparte was the most powerful man in France at this time was the most powerful man in France at that time was Napoleon. He became a general in the French army. General in French army. Okay, he was the first consul 1719 to 1804 and then became the emperor. पहले तो consul बने, first consul फिर emperor बन गए 1804 से 1814. Napoleon was very ambitious man. In his desire to control the whole of Europe, he led France into numerous wars. So Napoleon Bonaparte was hailed as an icon of the military genius. He was an excellent administrator. Soon after crowning himself the emperor, Napoleon declared a war on Austria. उन्होंने ऑस्ट्रिया पे war कर दिया and defeated Austrian forces. War on Austria and defeated Austrian force in 1805. उनको हरा दिया. So in 1807 France ने कहा अब हम प्रूसिया को हराएंगे and routed the Russian army in 1808 and routed the Russian army in 1807. Thus large part of Europe came under the control of France. Napoleon's military campaign were fired by one motive to displace Britain from its privileged position in Europe. जो उस टाइम पे सबसे ज़्यादा privileged position ब्रिटेन था. Such was his contempt for Britain that he called it a nation of shopkeepers. By 1812, Napoleon had made France the power center of Europe. His decline began after his Russian campaign in 1812. He made the mistake of invading Russia in winter. A large part of his army perished due to the bitter cold. Napoleon's reputation suffered a big blow. The enemies of the France saw this as a great opportunity to strike the empire. Major European powers जैसे कि Sweden, Austria, Prussia, Russia, they formed an alliance and defeated the France in the Battle of Leipzig in 1813. Battle of Leipzig. The Allied forces occupied Paris and Allied forces finally Paris को France का वो था ना Paris in 1814. Napoleon was forced to abdicate. He was exiled to the island of Elba. Napoleon, however, refused to accept defeat. He gathered a small army with which he marched to Belgium, but he was defeated once again in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. तो पहले तो इनको हराया सबने Battle of Leipzig में 1813 में. फिर इन्होंने ही वॉज द लाइट वॉज ऑक्यूपाइड पेरिस, इनको आइलैंड ऑफ एल्बा में भेज दिया. फिर उन्होंने वापस से बेल्जियम पर अटैक कर दिया. बैटल ऑफ वाटरलू 1815. दिस बैटल स्टार्टेड नेपोलियंस ड्रीम ऑफ रिटर्निंग टू पावर. द ब्रिटिश एक्साइल्ड नेपोलियन टू द आइलैंड ऑफ सेंट हेलेना वेयर ही डाइड इन 1821. वो कहाँ भेजा था? सेंट हेलेना. द लायंस माउंट समनी से द बैटल ऑफ वाटरलू वेयर नेपोलियन द लायंस माउंट कॉमेमोरेट बैटल ऑफ वाटरलू वेयर नेपोलियन वॉज डिफीटेड. कहाँ पे भेजा? सेंट हेलेना. 1821 में इनकी डेथ हो गई थी. Napoleon's style of standing with one hand placed in his chest has always puzzled historians. For his entire adult life, Napoleon suffered from acute stomach aches. Some historians reason that holding his hand in his abdomen perhaps helped ease his suffering. ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट पास द स्टैम्प एक्ट इन 1765 में. 1773 में बॉस्टन टी पार्टी इंसिडेंट. बिगिनिंग ऑफ अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस 1776. 17 फ्रांस रिवॉल्यूशन अंडर द मोनार्की एस्टैब्लिश अ रिपब्लिकन गवर्नमेंट. नेपोलियन बोनापार्ट बिकेम द एम्परर ऑफ फ्रांस इन 1804. 1815 में नेपोलियन डिफीट इन द बैटल ऑफ वाटरलू मार्क द एंड ऑफ द हिज रेन. Nationalism, a strong feeling of love and pride for one's country. Love and pride. Mother country, the country where people who live in a colony or former colony came from. Republic, a government in which the supreme power belongs to the people and the elected representatives rather than a king or queen. Clergy, priest of a religious institution, especially a church. Bourgeoisie is a member of the middle class. Autocracy, country ruled by the person or a group with absolute power. Kata. Fraternity is brotherhood. Nation state, a form of political organization in which a group of people share the same history, same tradition. Political organizations have the same history, same tradition, language, and lives in a particular area under one government. Being sent to live in some other country for political reason as a punishment, उसे exile कहते हैं. Liberty, equality and fraternity. खत्म हो गया. Chapter 3, American Civil War. The American War of Independence led to the birth of USA. However, barely 85 years later, America was faced with a civil war. 1861 से 1865. That threatened the unity and integration of the nation. America after 1776 was broadly divided into two halves, the northern and the southern state. The north in the 19th century experienced a tremendous industrial spurt with a large number of textile factories and manufacturing industries being set up. The south depended heavily on agriculture and the plantation. South किस पे डिपेंड करता था? Agriculture and plantation. और north में industrialize हो गया, south में agriculture plantation. Cotton, sugarcane, tobacco were the main crops grown here. This was because the climate was suitable for growing cash crop. So sugarcane, cotton, sugarcane, tobacco, cash crop. Work on these labor-intensive plantation was done entirely by the slaves brought from Africa. Africa से यहाँ पे बार-बार slaves लाए जाते थे. There were many causes that led to the American Civil War. Some of them were as follows. The North had an industrial base, while the South agriculture. The North wanted to improvement in transport and communication facilities that in turn would aid in industrial growth. The South was against such changes because it felt that such changes would affect the soil fertility adversely. The North and the South clashed over the question of tariff. The northern state preferred protective tariff as it would make जो फॉरेन गुड्स मोर एक्सपेंसिव दैन लोकली मैन्युफैक्चर्ड गुड्स. उन्होंने कहा कि प्रोटेक्टिव टैरिफ लगाना चाहिए प्रिफर्ड, जो कि अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ एज इट वुड मेक फॉरेन गुड मोर एक्सपेंसिव दैन लोकली मैन्युफैक्चर्ड गुड, दैट इन टर्न वुड इंक्रीज द डिमांड फॉर लोकली मैन्युफैक्चर्ड गुड. लेकिन साउथ ऑन द अदर हैंड दे फेल्ट दैट सच टैरिफ्स वर अनफेयर. Because they aimed at disturbing the economy of the southern state. This was because the southern state imported, जो कि वो ज़्यादा इम्पोर्ट करते थे. अगर इम्पोर्ट ड्यूटी लग गई, ठीक है, प्रोटेक्टिव टैरिफ लग गई, import कर रहे हैं, तो it was a wider variety of goods from the imported wider variety of goods from foreign market than their northern counterpart. Further, taxes were also levied on many southern goods that were shipped to foreign countries, an expense that was not always applied to northern goods of equal value. अब आता है slavery. The issue of slavery was a crucial point of dissension between the north and the south. Slavery existed in America long before the American War of Independence. By the end of the American War of Independence, most northern states had abolished the institution of slavery because they needed free labor to work in the factories. Slavery, however, continued to grow and flourish in the plantation economy of the South. Slaves were also used for various household cures. Slaves thus became economically indispensable for the southern states. The slaves were tortured and treated like the personal property of the slave owners. They could be auctioned, they could be bought and sold at the will of the owners. They were kept in a very unhygienic condition and were poorly fed. Slaves were not allowed to read or write, and any attempt to read the Bible was met with cruel punishment. The northern states felt that the slavery was a social injustice and should be abolished. The abolitionist movement was led by William Lloyd Garrison. He founded the American Anti-Slavery Society. As the nation grew in size, many Americans migrated westward. As the nation grew in size, many Americans migrated westward. This westward expansion resulted in many new territories being added to the U.S. While the South was in favor of spreading slavery to the newly acquired western territory, the North was not. Slaves used to live in such brick quarters. Their living condition was very poor, and artists and of slaves being auctioned. Even after the slavery was abolished, the African and the Americans were treated as a second-rate citizen. In many southern states, the African and the Americans were prevented from voting and were not allowed to send their children to white schools or sit in the bus seats reserved for whites. This system of segregating blacks, as the Afro-Americans were called, and the whites on the basis of their skin color is known as apartheid. Segregation, blacks and whites on the basis of the skin color is called apartheid. Okay, तो वो चाहते थे spreading slavery, but the North was Again, the spread of slavery to the new religion, another pressing issue was the question of states' right and the amount of freedom to be given to the individual state. While another state wanted the US to remain one nation, the southern state wanted the individual state to be given the power to decide whether they wanted to remain with the union or secede from the union. This was opposed by the north. The literary impotence to the American Civil War was provided by the path-breaking novel of 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. This novel helped to create public opinion against slavery. 1852 में एक नॉवल आई थी जिसका नाम था अंकल टॉम्स कैबिन. किसने लिखी थी? हैरियट बीचर स्टोव ने. हैरियट बीचर स्टोव. द गर्ल बिटवीन द नॉर्दर्न एंड द सदर्न स्टेट वॉज इन विद टाइम जब अब्राहम लिंकन हु वॉज नोन फॉर हिज एंटी स्लेवरी व्यूज फॉर इलेक्टेड एज अ प्रेसिडेंट इन 1861. जो 11 सदर्न स्टेट थे दे सेसीड फ्रॉम द यूनियन. उन्होंने कहा भैया हमको निकलना है. कौन कौन से थे? मिसिसिपी ने, फ्लोरिडा, नॉर्थ कैरोलिना, साउथ कैरोलिना था. नॉर्थ कैरोलिना, साउथ कैरोलिना. ओके. मिसिसिपी, फ्लोरिडा, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee. They established a new nation and called it the Confederate States of America. Jefferson Davis was chosen as the Confederate States of America. Beginning the secession of the southern state was unacceptable to the Union. Abraham Lincoln decided to bring the secession state back into the Union. Abraham Lincoln, anti-slavery use, President 1861. Okay. And war was the only way to do so. The American Civil War began on 12 April 1861. The forces of the North clashed with the Confederate Army. Numerous battles were fought in different places in the South. Fortunes kept fluctuating with neither side being able to dominate the other completely. Ultimately, after 4 years of fighting, the Confederate Army was defeated. War ended on 12 अप्रैल को शुरू हुआ, 9 अप्रैल 12 अप्रैल 1861, 9 अप्रैल 1865 को ख़त्म हुआ. पेन द कॉन्फिडरेट जनरल जिनका नाम था, पहले तो कौन थे? जेफरसन डेविस. उनके बाद थे रॉबर्ट ली, सरेंडर टू द यूनियन जनरल उलिसेस ग्रांट. रॉबर्ट ली ने किसको सरेंडर किया? उलिसेस ग्रांट. रॉबर्ट ली ने किसको सरेंडर किया? उलिसेस ग्रांट. यहाँ पे उलिसेस का नाम एक बार मैंने अभी आया था. अच्छा. विलियम लॉयड ग्रोसन. अबॉलिशनिस्ट मूवमेंट वॉज लेड बाय abolitionist movement funded the American Anti-Slavery Society. ओके. रॉबर्ट ली ने सरेंडर किया उलिसेस ग्रांट में. कॉन्फिडरेट के कौन थे? जेफरसन डेविस. Abraham Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln played the most crucial role during the war. He guided the Union during the war and succeeded in preserving its unity. 1861, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. This was a giant step towards abolishing slavery and emancipating the slaves. After the war, the slaves were granted citizenship and voting rights. Abraham Lincoln was the great orator. The speech he gave at Gettysburg during the American Civil War is considered to be one of the greatest speeches in American history. The inspiration for the establishing democracy in India has been taken from this speech. Abraham Lincoln led the country during the American Civil War. President Lincoln's Gettysburg address when the Union Army defeated the Confederate Army in the Battle of Gettysburg 1863, 4 score and 7. Now we are engaged in a great civil war. तो एक speech दी थी उन्होंने, not that important. Emancipation Proclamation 1860, Abraham Lincoln. An artist impression for the first reading of the Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, chapter खत्म. Civil War, the war between the opposing groups of citizens of the same country. A large plantation is a large area of land where crops such as sugarcane, tea, coffee, cotton are grown. Tariff is a tax on good coming into the country. Tariff लगता है कोई country में कोई good आ रहा है तो उस पर. Confederate is the 11th southern state decision from the Union and Confederate. Emancipate set someone free. Orator, one who gives speeches in public. Orator. Next topic है India in the 18th century. The Mughal Empire had begun and to show signs of decay during the reign of the Aurangzeb. ठीक है. Aurangzeb. After his death in 1702, the empire declined rapidly. The kings who ruled after Aurangzeb were called later Mughal. Bahadur Shah, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Shah, Muhammad Shah were later Mughals. It was during the Muhammad Shah reign that Nadir Shah invaded India. Later Ahmad Shah also invaded India. The Mughal Empire could never recover from the devastating effects of these invasions. While the empire tried to return a token of its erstwhile glory, many regional kingdoms arose to challenge the Mughal authority. In 18th century, French and the English trading companies too joined the regional kingdoms in their struggle for further decline of the Mughal Empire. Historians have debated about the causes of the decline of the Mughal Empire. Let us study some of the factors that brought about the downfall of the empire. Rivalry among the nobles. There was a constant struggle for power among the nobility, which inspired the Rani and Hindustani. Constant struggle for power among the nobles, Durrani, Irani and Hindustani. They acted as kingmakers and became the direct contenders for power, deposing and raising princes to the throne to further their own interests. Petty rivalries and jealousies hampered the smooth functioning of the छोटी छोटी जलना rivalry, jealousy, smooth functioning of the empire. उसके बाद जागीरदारी crisis. The Mughal had introduced the जागीरदारी system. Under this system, the Mughals paid their office jagirs in lieu of their service. By the end of the 17th century, there was a scramble for the few remaining jagirs. A lot of a crown land was converted into jagir land. This decreased the ruler's share of revenue and consequently it is अगर उनका शेयर ऑफ रेवेन्यू देखो, उनका जो क्राउन लैंड था वो जागीर में बदल गया तो उनका शेयर ऑफ रेवेन्यू कम हो गया रूलर का, और अगर वो हो गया तो पावर भी कम होगी. जानदार शाह वॉज अ प्लेजर लविंग रूलर. हिज वाइफ जुल्फिकर खान, हिज वजीर जुल्फिकर खान कंट्रोल द रेन ऑफ द एम्पायर. जानदार शाह के काम पे कौन था? जुल्फिकर खान. उसके दर्जे लाइफस्टाइल ऑफ द मुगल नोबिलिटी एडवर्सली अफेक्टेड द रनिंग ऑफ द एम्पायर. यूरोपियन सोर्सेज मेक द मेंशन ऑफ द वाइडस्प्रेड ग्रीड एंड द करप्शन प्रेवलेंट इन द मुगल नोबिलिटी. मनसबदारी क्राइसिस. Another mansabdari system of mansabdar was required to maintain a fixed quota of troops. Every mansabdar was assigned a jagir, taxes from which each equal his salary. mansabdar को जागीर दी वहाँ से उनकी सैलरी थी. mansabdar was expected to collect the revenue from his jagir and with the money collected maintain his household as well as pay his troops. The mansabdari system faced a crisis in the later half of the 17th century के आखिरी में 1600 में. The number of the mansabdars increased rapidly due to the shortage of profitable jagir. अब mansabdar इतने हो गए, जागीर कम हो गई and the gradual weakening of the centralized control. mansabdar grew lax in maintaining the number of tools that was required for them. This was the military strength of the empire. Weak military administration. The failure on the part of the mansabdar to maintain the required number of troops and the inability of Mughals to adopt new warfare technology. कोई नई technology भी नहीं ला रहे, undermined the military might of the empire. Not only the equipment were outdated, the artillery wing of the army was also very neglected. Equipment outdated, artillery neglected. ठीक है, the little efforts were made to develop a navy. In the wake of the foreign invasion, the empire failed to defend itself. Okay, war of succession. The Mughals followed no clear rule of succession. Every prince considered himself to be the next ruler, the head of the emperor. Therefore, was almost always followed by a war of succession. These wars not only caused a financial drain on the empire, but also inevitably led to a loss of men, equipment, पैसा गया, men गया, equipment गया. Moreover, quick succession of rulers led to the political instability of the empire. Aurangzeb policy. Aurangzeb's prolonged Deccan campaign and his numerous wars with the Sikh and the Marathas left him with little time to attend the administrative needs of the empire. In such a scenario, the empire tottered towards decline. Farooq Siyar was a ruler only, and he was controlled by Sayyid Badr Abdullah Khan Baraha and Hussain Ali. Abdullah Khan Baraha and Hussain Ali's Baraha, they were known as the kingmakers. 1790 में they removed Farooq Siyar from the throne. With a year, they placed and removed two more rulers. In 1720, the Sayyid brothers made Muhammad Shah the emperor. Muhammad Shah stripped the Sayyid brothers of their power. उसके बाद आता है फॉरेन इन्वेजन. द इन्वेजन ऑफ नादिर शाह द रूलर ऑफ पर्सिया इन 1739 shook the Mughal empire. He took away the famous Kohinoor diamond peacock throne of Shahjahan. Kohinoor diamond and peacock throne. Between 1748 and 1767, Ahmad Shah Dani invaded northern India several times. 1748 से 1767 तक. He defeated the Marathas in the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761 and destroyed the Maratha ambition of becoming the supreme power of India. As a result of these invasions, the already tottering Mughal empire reached the verge of collapse. It was increasingly confined to the area in and around Delhi. As a result of these invasions, the already tottering Mughal empire reached the verge of collapse. It was increasingly confined to the area in and around Delhi. The successors of Aurangzeb were very weak. None had the personality or the administrative acumen of great Mughals. Being inept, the later Mughals left the affairs of the empire in the hand of their successors. Were weak. They none had the personality or administrative acumen. Being inept, administrative acumen. In the later Mughals led the affairs of the empire in the hand of their nobles and governors. Many of these governors established independent kingdoms. These regional kingdoms emerged as rival centers of power. The Mughal dynasty continued till 1858 when the British removed Bahadur Shah Zafar, the reigning Mughal emperor, from the throne and brought an end to the Mughal empire. The Mughal dynasty continued till 1858 when the British removed Bahadur Shah Zafar and reigning Mughal empire from the throne and brought an end to the Mughal empire. Regional kingdom. On the ruins of the Mughal empire, there arose many regional kingdoms. Three of the largest provinces to become independent were Bengal, Hyderabad and Awadh. Bengal में Murshid Quli Khan was made the governor of Bengal in 1717. Murshid Quli Khan 1717. Taking advantage of the weak center, he began to rule independently. He made Murshid Quli Khan ने मुर्शिदाबाद को अपना कैपिटल बनाया. In 1727, he was succeeded by Shujauddin. Murshid Quli Khan के बाद आया Shujauddin, who ruled till 1739. After him, Alivardi Khan के बाद आया सिराजुद्दौला. तो मुर्शीद कुली खान, शुजाउद्दीन, अलीवर्दी खान, सिराजुद्दौला. द रूलर्स ऑफ द बंगाल इम्प्रूव द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को बढ़िया कर दिया. एग्रीकल्चर, दे इंकरेजिंग एग्रीकल्चर, इंडस्ट्री एंड ट्रेड. पुअर फार्मर्स वर गिवन लोन्स. Strict control was maintained on the collection of custom duties. In the 18th century, Bengal became one of the most prosperous regions of India. It was this prosperity that attracted the British to it. The historic Battle of Plassey was 1757 में. कैपिटल क्या थी? मुर्शिदाबाद। ओके, बैटल प्लाजा 1757 एंड बैटल ऑफ बक्सर 1764 में फर्मली एस्टैब्लिश ब्रिटिश पावर इन द रीजन। अवध 1722, मोहम्मद शाह ने जो रंगीला थे, उन्होंने शहादत खान को गवर्नर ऑफ अवध किया था। जमींदार और अवध रोज इन रेबेलियन एंड रिफ्यूज टू पे टैक्स ऑन टाइम। शहादत खान सप्रेस्ड द रेबेलियस जमींदार एंड रिफॉर्म द रेवेन्यू सिस्टम। ही हेल्ड द कंबाइंड ऑफिस ऑफ द सूबेदार, पॉलिटिकल हेड भी थे, मिलिट्री हेड, फौजदार भी थे। शहादत खान सूबेदार मतलब पॉलिटिकल हेड, एंड फौजदार मिलिट्री हेड, एंड द दीवान हेड ऑफ रेवेन्यू। ही वर्चुअली रूल्ड अवध एज एन इंडिपेंडेंट रूलर। ही वाज 1739 के बाद आया सफदार जंग। शहादत खान के बाद आया सफदार जंग। सफदार जंग ने सजेस्टेड फॉर एबल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स पीपल ऑफ अपर एक्सपीरियंस पीरियड ऑफ पीस एंड प्रॉस्पेरिटी इन द नवाब। लखनऊ वाज द कैपिटल, वाज द मेजर सेंटर ऑफ आर्ट एंड कल्चर। मुर्शीद कोली खान बिल्ट कतरा मस्जिद। वेस्ट बंगाल में एक जगह है मुर्शिदाबाद, मुर्शिदाबाद जो उनका कैपिटल था, वहाँ पे उन्होंने कटरा मस्जिद बनाया। ही लाइज बरीड बिलो द स्टेप्स ऑफ द मॉस्क। नादिर शाह, अहमद शाह अब्दाली, सब पढ़ लिया। लग्जरियस लाइफस्टाइल मुगल नोबिलिटी एज वेल एज द रनिंग ऑफ द एम्पायर। यूरोपियन सोर्सेज मेक मेंशन ऑफ द वाइडस्प्रेड ग्रीड एंड करप्शन प्रिवेंटेड मुगल नोबिलिटी। ग्रीड भी होता है, करप्शन। ये मैप देखना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, सब सारे मैप देखना। इंडस है, इंडस में झेलम, चिनाब, रावी, ब्यास, सतलज। ओके, ऊपर कश्मीर है, कश्मीर में ध्यान से तो ये जम्मू है, ये आपका पंजाब अमृतसर है, ये पाकिस्तान में हमारा अमृतसर और लाहौर एकदम अगल बगल ही है। ठीक है, अम्बाला और ये अम्बाला पंजाब में है। पानीपत है, ये यहाँ पे जो रोहिलाज मतलब कहाँ कहाँ पे आप देख लो, ये आपके हिमाचल प्रदेश में नहीं, हरियाणा और इधर सब में। ये आपका यूपी का बरेली है। ये यमुना, देखो यमुना के इधर पानीपत है, पानीपत गंगा के उधर बरेली है। दिल्ली है, मथुरा है, आगरा है। ओके, यहाँ पे जोधपुर में देखो एक रिवर जा रही है, जयपुर में एक बहुत बड़ा लेक बना हुआ है। ये मथुरा है, ये भरतपुर है, भरतपुर, जयपुर, जोधपुर राजपूत स्टेट है। यहाँ पे ग्वालियर भी बना हुआ है, चंबल के आसपास, चंबल के आसपास ग्वालियर है। ये बेटवा है, चंबल बेटवा, तो यहाँ पे सिंधिया हो गए। ऊपर रोहिलास हो गए, जाट वगैरह थे रोहिलास, ये सिंधिया हो गए। लखनऊ देखो गंगा में है, घाघरा है, फैज़ाबाद भी है घाघरा में, इलाहाबाद है, वाराणसी है, सोन है, इलाहाबाद, वाराणसी, बक्सर। ये गंगा, ये गंडक ऊपर से आ रही है, कोसी आ रही है, सैंगपुर, ब्रह्मपुत्र, ये आसाम है। यहाँ पे वेस्ट बंगाल में ढाका बना हुआ है, मुर्शिदाबाद है, प्लासे, यहाँ देखो प्लासे है, प्लासे में ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर ऑलमोस्ट पास, ऊपर से पास निकल रहा है। उसके ऊपर मुर्शिदाबाद, नीचे चंदन नगर है, चंदन नगर के बाद कलकत्ता है, दिख रहा है, प्लासे है, चंदन नगर है, कलकत्ता है। ये आपका उड़ीसा महानदी के आसपास है, यहाँ पर जहाँ पे महानदी के ऊपर भोंसले है। और ये नागपुर है, बुरहानपुर है, औरंगाबाद है, ये मराठा एंड पेशवास है। ऊपर थोड़ा सा देखो गायकवाड़ है, सबसे ये जो टॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर पे होलकर है, होलकर के नीचे गायकवाड़ है, होलकर के नीचे इंदौर है, गायकवाड़। ये अहमदाबाद है, बड़ौदा है, इंदौर है, और ये बुरहानपुर है, औरंगाबाद, हैदराबाद, बीजापुर, कृष्णा, गोदावरी और कृष्णा के बीच में हैदराबाद है, ये बीजापुर है, सतारा है मराठास का, ये गोवा पोर्ट है नीचे साउथ में, ये नॉर्दर्न सरकार है, ये गोदावरी। तो देखो कृष्णा और गोदावरी के बीच में मछलीपट्टनम है, नीचे देखो ये आरकोट है, ये मद्रास है, ये सेरिंगपट्टनम, ये एकदम सेंटर में, ये बैटल ऑफ, ये पौंडीचेरी, ये वंडीवास, ये मालाबार, कैलिकट, कार्नेटिक, नीचे ट्रेवनकोर, त्रिवेंद्रम, श्रीलंका। ठीक है, अब आते हैं हैदराबाद। चिनकुलिज खान वॉज अ पावरफुल नोबल इन द कोर्ट ऑफ फारूक शेर एंड मोहम्मद शाह। फारूक शेर और मोहम्मद शाह की कोर्ट में चिनकुलिज खान थे। ही वॉज अवार्डेड द टाइटल ऑफ निजाम उल मुल्क असफ शाह। चिनकुलिज खान निजाम उल मुल्क असफ शाह एंड गेव द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ गवर्निंग द डेक्कन प्रोविंस कवर्ड द स्टेट ऑफ हैदराबाद इन 1724। हैदराबाद 1724 which he ruled as an independent ruler. He appointed Mansan Taj and Gentry then Jagged without seeking permission from Muhammad Shah, who was powerless to stop him. He had to accept the decision made by the Chinkuliz Khan, the successor of Nizam ul Mulk, were called Nizam. अब आता है रोहिलास, रोहिलखंड में। रोहिलास की एक अफगान ट्राइब थी, दे वर कंसिडर्ड इन द मुरादाबाद बरेली रीजन में। टेकिंग एडवांटेज ऑफ द नादिर शाह इन्वेजन, अली मोहम्मद खान, नादिर शाह के इन्वेजन के बाद एडवांटेज लिया अली मोहम्मद खान, रोहिलास थे। ही एस्टैब्लिश कंट्रोल ओवर दिस रीजन, इट लेटर बिकेम टू नोन एज रोहिलखंड। द रोहिलास ऑफन क्लैश विद द नेबरिंग किंगडम्स ऑफ अवध से लड़ते थे, दिल्ली से लड़ते थे, ठीक है, एंड विद द जाट्स एंड द मराठा, जो भरतपुर अंडर द जाट्स। एंड द जाट्स वर फार्मर्स हु लिव्ड अराउंड दिल्ली एंड मथुरा। जाट्स क्या थे? एक तरीके से फार्मिंग कम्युनिटी थे, दिल्ली, मथुरा एंड आगरा। दे फाउंडेड द इंडिपेंडेंट किंगडम ऑफ भरतपुर इन्होंने सबने मिलके जाट ने भरतपुर बनाया। यहाँ पे चूड़ामन हो गया, बदन सिंह हो गया, जो भरतपुर अंडर द जाट, चूड़ामन, बदन सिंह, सूरजमल, चूड़ामन, बदन एंड सूरज, चूड़ामन, बदन सिंह एंड सूरजमल, Churaman, Badan, Surajmal were the powerful Jat chief after the death of Surajmal in 1763. The power of the Jat declined. The region under control was divided among the small Subedar. अब राजपूत आते, most of the Rajput kings in the reign of the Akbar had been allies with the Mughal. However, many of them revolted during the reign of the Aurangzeb. By the early 18th century, most of the Rajput state had become independent. The most renowned Rajput ruler of this period was the Savai Jai Singh of Amber. Amber बना है क्या? Savai Jai Singh of Amber. Amber. Okay, Savai Jai Singh of Amber. He encouraged the teaching and learning of Savai Raja. Savai Raja Jai Singh of Amber. He founded the city of Jaipur and made it his capital. He was also interested in astronomy and built observatories in दिल्ली में, जयपुर में, मथुरा में, उज्जैन में एंड बनारस, नाउ वाराणसी, पंजाब and the Sikh. The Chowmahalla Palace was the official residence of Nizam of Hyderabad. Hyderabad का Chowmahalla Palace. Okay, Punjab under the Sikh. The Sikh had become powerful under the Guru Gobind Singh. After his death, leadership passed into the hands of Banda. Banda continued to fight against the Mughal. In the second half of the 18th century, Sikhs were organized into a political group called Misl. There were 12 Misl in all. Each Misl had its own leaders who controlled a special area and fought against other Misl. Toward the end of the 18th century, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the Shukarchakiya Misl, they united all the Misl and established the kingdom of Punjab. Mysore. Hyder Ali of Mysore, now Mysuru. हैदर अली ऑफ मैसूर, मैसूर देखो नीचे, ओके, हैदर अली मैसूर, ऊपर से ये मैसूर है, ये वंडी वॉस है, सेरिंगपट्टनम है. हैदर अली नो मैसूर became his powerful kingdom. Under Hyder Ali, he started his career as a foot soldier and gradually rose through the rank to become the ruler of Mysore in 1761 में. जंतर मंतर ऑब्जर्वेटरी कहाँ पर है? जयपुर. ये यूनेस्को वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज साइट है. ओके, रूलर ऑफ मैसूर इन 1761. ये 1724 में हैदराबाद बनी थी. जयपुर भी बना था, जयपुर. ओके, राजा जय सिंह ऑफ अम्बेर. As a result, the ruler he controlled the rebellious Jamindars and improved the condition of the farmers. He also modernized the army. Ruler he controlled the rebellious Jamindars and improved the condition of the farmers. He modernized the army. That was the French established a modern arsenal at Dindigul in 1769. 1761 में बने थे. दिंदुगल ने मॉडर्न आर्सेनल फैक्ट्री बनाई थी. इन 1769 हैदर अली डिफीटेड द ब्रिटिश फोर्सेस इन फर्स्ट एंग्लो मैसूर वॉर. टीपू सुल्तान आफ्टर हैदर अली his death in 1782, his son Tipu Sultan, popularly called the Tiger of Mysore, continued his fight against the British. Tipu was deeply influenced by the ideas of the French Revolution. He introduced the modern weapons in his army and made effort to build a modern navy. He also realized the importance of trade and industry and tried to modernize the industries of his kingdom. Tea industry. He died defending this capital Seringapatam against the British in 1789. 1799, Battle of Seringapatam, capital. Marathas had a humble origin till the early 17th century, but they were minor chieftains serving in the kingdom of Ahmednagar, बीजापुर एंड गोलकोंडा. देखो ध्यान से, एक अहमदनगर हो गया, अहमदनगर, बीजापुर एंड गोलकोंडा इसमें नहीं बना है. ओके, बीजापुर दिख रहा है, अहमदनगर, बीजापुर एंड गोलकोंडा. Okay, Bijapur and Golconda. When these kingdom became big, Marathas declared themselves independent. It was Shivaji who carved out a powerful kingdom in the Konkan region. Shivaji was followed by big successor. In the 18th century, power passed into the hands of the Peshwas. It was at the then the Marathas became the dominant regional power. Rise of the Peshwa. 1713 से लेकर 1761 तक Peshwas controlled the Maratha Empire. 1713 से 1761 तक पेशवास कंट्रोल द मराठास. इन 1713 शिवाजी के ग्रैंडसन साहू जी, उन्होंने बालाजी विश्वनाथ को पेशवा बनाया. तो चीफ मिनिस्टर ही वाज एन एबल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर एंड हेल्प शाहू कंट्रोल द मराठा चीफ. इन कोर्स ऑफ टाइम the Peshwa became the real decision maker. Balaji Vishwanath 1713 Balaji Vishwanath recounted the weakness of the later Mughals. Also he captured more territories. He forced Farooq Shah to return all the territories which had been under the Shivaji. Besides, the Marathas also got the right to collect Chauth and Chavdeshmukhi type of taxes from the 6 provinces of the Deccan. फिर आते हैं बाजीराव 1720-1740. बाजीराव वन succeeded Balaji Vishwanath. He conquered Malwa, southern Gujarat, part of Bundelkhand. Toward the south, he defeated the Nizam of Hyderabad and got the right to collect taxes from some other provinces of the Deccan. He also captured Salsette and Bassein from the Portuguese. He is known as the fighting Peshwa as he spent most of his life fighting wars. अब आते हैं बाजीराव वन, फिर बालाजी बाजीराव. 1714-1716 बालाजी बाजीराव was the next Peshwa to the death of साहू जी की डेथ हो गई 1749 में. He became the head of the Marathas. He shifted the capital from Satara से पूना. Now Pune. सतारा में थे, उसके बाद पूना. And during his reign, the Maratha armies reached as far as the Punjab and Rajasthan in the north and Bengal and Odisha in the east. The kingdoms of Mysore and Hyderabad were forced to cede territories to pay tribute to the Marathas under Balaji Bajirao. Maratha power was his greatest. Third Battle of Panipat हुआ. Balaji Bajirao's expansion toward the north brought the Marathas in conflict with M.S. Chavdari, the leader of the Khan forces. The two armies finally met in Panipat in 1761. Panipat कहाँ पर है पता है ना? पानीपत ओके यमुना के उस तरफ है पानीपत. ओके while नाजिबुद्दौला ऑफ रोहिलखंड रोहिलखंड देते हैं रोहिलास. नाजिबुद्दौला ऑफ रोहिलखंड शुजा-उद-दौला ऑफ अवध. शुजा-उद-दौला ऑफ अवध. अवध दिख रहा है यहाँ पे. वहाँ पे शुजा-उद-दौला थे उस टाइम पे. शुजा-उद-दौला ऑफ अवध हेल्प द अफगान. द मराठास हैड नो allies. The result, the Marathas were easily defeated. रोहिलखंड के नजीबुद्दौला, शुजा-उद-दौला ऑफ अवध had no allies. The result, Marathas were easily defeated. Several factors were responsible for the failure of the Marathas to establish an all-India empire. The Maratha chiefs lacked unity. They fought among themselves. They five groups जैसे पेशवा ऑफ पूना. पूना में थे पेशवा. ओके पेशवा ऑफ पूना. बड़ौदा में थे गायकवाड़. ओके गायकवाड़ जी बी सिंह. भोसले ऑफ नागपुर. नागपुर में थे नागपुर भोसले ऑफ नागपुर. ओके यहाँ पे भोसले ऑफ नागपुर. और एंड होलकर्स ऑफ इंदौर. सिंधियाज ऑफ ग्वालियर. ग्वालियर में सिंधियाज थे. सिंधियाज ऑफ ग्वालियर. ओके ये ग्वालियर है. ग्वालियर में सिंधिया थे. ओके सिंधियाज ऑफ ग्वालियर. होलकर ऑफ इंदौर. गायकवाड़ ऑफ बड़ौदा. भोसले ऑफ नागपुर. ओके दे were enmeshed in petty jealousies and failed to unite for a common cause. The Marathas irritated other rulers by raiding their kingdoms and levying taxes and tributes. The Marathas made no attempt to improve the administration of territories under them. As a result, they did not gain the loyalty of the people. The Marathas neglected trade, industry, nor did they encourage science and technology. They also failed to develop a modern army and did not adopt the modern European techniques of warfare. The battle defeat in Panipat ended the possibility of the Marathas established an all-India empire. Various Maratha chiefs broke away from the empire. He broke away from the empire and started ruling over a small kingdom. The Third Battle of Panipat gave the English East India Company an opportunity to consolidate its power in India. यहाँ पे थोड़ा चीज़ देख लो. बालाजी विश्वनाथ पेशवा बने थे 1713 में. 1717 बंगाल बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट रूलर अंडर मुर्शिद कुली खान. सादत खान 1722 में. 1717 में बंगाल में सादत खान रूलर. 1722 में 1721 चिन कुलिस खान carved out an independent state of Hyderabad. Nadir Shah invaded 1739. 1716 में Third Battle of Panipat was fought in with the Maratha lost to Ahmed Shah Abdali. यहाँ पे कुछ वर्ड है. जागीर a piece of land given by ruler to his officer. crown land, the land whose revenue was reserved for the emperor. artillery, large powerful gun transported on wheel. observatory, special building from which the stars can be closely observed by studied. Misle, a political group among the Sikh, each having his own leader. arsenal, a place where weapons and explosives are made and stored. Peshwa is the chief minister of the Maratha ruler. ये चैप्टर भी कंप्लीट हो गया. आप चैप्टर 5 से करना है. जस्ट लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक. थैंक यू.